Hey everybody, how you doing? Tekking101. Oh, that's the wrong logo. Hold on, let me pop that back. Oh, there we go. Okay, just forget you saw that. That had nothing to do with any sort of theme week that we're going to be doing here pretty soon when I go on vacation. Nothing whatsoever. Absolutely not. Okay, so I was going to do a video today following up on chapter 1052 and like the current state of affairs in Wano and like how that's going and everything like that. But instead we're talking about Usopp, all right? Because last video I made, the video about the bounties, I had like a throwaway line in the middle of the video. You know what? I'll just throw it up there for you so I don't have to remember what I said. It's sort of like the situation with Usopp, where Usopp's dream is to become a brave warrior of the sea. I think most people, actually, you know what? I'll throw a vote up on my YouTube community tab because I barely use that. But I will throw up a vote, and it'll probably be live by the time this video comes out. So you can go over there and vote whether or not you consider Usopp a brave warrior of the sea. Now, I originally thought this was going to be a very easy poll. I thought it was going to be rather lopsided. I thought a lot of people were on the same page here. And I wasn't wrong, but I also wasn't right. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to be like 80-20 or maybe 70-30 in favor of Usopp being considered a brave warrior of the sea, because I'm thinking back at, like, think of all the things Usopp has accomplished. You know what I mean? He has come a long, long way since he was standing on the bluffs at Syrup Village, you know, being like, I have 8,000 men, Luffy! How dare you attack the kingdom of Usopp! You know, he's come a long, long way since then. Starting with him, you know, basically I think the first major bravery moment for Usopp, the first major badass moment he had, if I had to choose, is when he fought against Chu at Arlong Park, where he fought against Chu, and then, you know, he like played dead, and he's like, I'm just gonna play dead and I'll be able to survive, but then Chu's going back to Arlong Park, and so Usopp is like, okay, I can't do that. Everybody else, you know, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, they're all fighting, and they're fighting for Nami's sake. You know, what am I if I'm just pretending to play dead, and then he's gonna walk back, and then they're going to have to finish him off anyway? That's not going to work, okay? So he gets back up, he fights against Chu, he lights him on fire. he just like douses him with alcohol and lights a match, all right? Usopp's not playing around in that fight. And then proceeds to beat the ever-loving crap out of him with a hammer. And then finally, like, Chu's just on the ground, just like, oh, please stop, okay? You're strong, shit. You know, I think he was a brave warrior of the sea right there, okay? But no, obviously that was Arlong Park. But all the stuff he's done since then, you know, he had a big moment at Little Garden, you know, when he came riding in on Karu and lit that entire, like, wax cake on fire. That was pretty cool. Yeah, of course, the moment in Alabasta when he teamed up with Chopper to take down Miss Merry Christmas and Mr. Four. The first introduction of the giant 5-ton hammer. That was great. I love the fight between him and Perona, which a lot of people seem to be, like, the general consensus is that may very well be, like, the greatest epic bravery moment out of Usopp, like, ever, when he fought against Perona and, like, dominated the later part of that fight, and then just used every trick in his book, and then had the giant hammer, and then just Perona's just like, oh, please, God, no, and then she, like, passes out, and that's how Usopp wins the fight, and that was a pretty good moment as well. Also, the last time we got the introduction of, or the last appearance of Sogeking. You know, Sogeking, it was kind of a little bit ambiguous on whether or not Sogeking's spirit, like, inhabited Usopp at that moment, or if it was like something else going on. Obviously Usopp is not Sogeking. Like, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, right? Obviously Usopp is from the East Blue. He's from Syrup Village. Sogeking clearly said on many occasions he is from Sniper Island. Okay, so obviously Usopp is not Sogeking. So I like to think at that moment Sogeking's soul, maybe Sogeking is dead. Maybe Sogeking is a previous member of the clan of D from the Void Century, right? And he's dead. His body has long since decayed, but his soul still travels around the world and inhabits those who are deemed worthy by his sharpshooting prowess, so to speak. So in that moment, Sogeking, you know, inhabited Usopp just to give him a little boost, just a little push to get him to where he needed to be, okay? And that's probably why we haven't seen Sogeking since then, is just because, you know, Usopp doesn't really require him anymore. But just, you know, let it be known, if Usopp is ever at a moment like where he's fighting Van Augur at the end of the story, you know, a member of Blackbeard's crew, when he's on the ground and he can't win, that's when Sogeking will possess him again to just give him that vote of confidence. Like, you can do this, Usopp. I believe in you. For all of those that have died on Sniper Island, it's a war zone, by the way. For all those that have died, you will be the hero of a new generation. And then Usopp will rise up and he'll carry the day. But anyway, no. So going back to the poll, though, I put the poll up on my channel on the community tab. As I'm looking at it right now, it's actually 51% in favor of yes, that he is a brave warrior of the sea, and 49% no, that he is not a brave warrior of the sea. Now, I should clarify, if I knew this poll was going to get as crazy as it was, I probably would have paid a little bit more attention to how I worded it. But the way I worded it, let me just pull it over here. The way I worded it was, would you consider Usopp to have achieved his dream of being a brave warrior of the sea? Now, that's good enough, but I really should have stressed, like, what you consider Usopp to have achieved, you know, and I should have clarified, like, not what he considers, but what you consider. I think most people understood that, but even so, there were many people in the comments that were like, well, I consider him a brave warrior, but he probably doesn't. Yeah, I understand that. I mean, he probably does not consider himself a brave warrior of the sea. In fact, that was the whole point of the poll to begin with, was that Usopp doesn't consider himself one at this point, but I think I assumed the majority of the fan base did, but that seems to be not the case, right? So yeah, 47,000 people voted, and up until, like, 'cause I just looked at it now, it's 51-49, but for like the last 2 days, it's been a 50-50 split. And that is remarkable, okay? Because I don't think I've ever seen a poll that I've ever done on my channel, on like Twitter, YouTube, otherwise, that had a strict 50-50 split with this many votes. It was like a 50-50 split at like 37,000 votes cast, and we're at 47,000 votes right here. So this is obvious. I know somebody shared it on the One Piece subreddit, so thanks for that. So, like, people have been sharing it around, and it's been getting a lot of hype here. Let me just read through some of these comments. Murphy commented, 50-50 results and 34,000 votes? Never have I seen such an even split with so many votes. I'm like, yeah. Somebody else, Lelouch commented, Lelouch is getting in on this. He absolutely has, but I don't think it will count until he himself believes that he has achieved it. That makes sense. You know, I think compared to normal people, he absolutely is a brave warrior of the sea. To the top crews of pirates, he wouldn't be because he still shows fear. Okay, and then that got into a whole other, like, philosophical discussion on whether or not, like, okay, what is the difference? What does it really mean to be courageous and brave? Are courageous and brave synonyms, or like they the same basic word, the same definition of the words, right? So that got into a whole, like, a little bit more of like a semantics argument there of like, what does it mean to be brave? It's like, brave means to have no fear whatsoever. And then there's another camp that are like, no, it doesn't mean that. It means you're able to overcome your fear when you need it the most. And he's like, no, it means that you've completely disregarded fear altogether. That's not what that means. And then that led to some arguments therein that it's the internet. Literally, we're getting into definition arguments on the internet. I think we all understand that that's just an endless whirlpool that has no depth to it. You know what I mean? It just keeps on going down, down, down into an endless abyss. But my point is there that I would argue that, yeah, you kind of still need fear in order to improve, in order to get stronger, okay? I would argue that, like, there's no One Piece character, okay, maybe Mihawk. There's no One Piece character that just completely just has no fear for anything, right? You know, like, it just depends on how they handle it, right? Like, just because a character doesn't freak out like Usopp does at certain, enemies or things they have to fight, doesn't mean they don't feel fear. In fact, wasn't there even a moment, I should have looked this up, but wasn't there a scene? It was right at the end of Marineford. It was post Marineford when we had the funeral ceremony for Whitebeard and Ace. Remember that? And so you had Shanks there on the island. Marco was there. All the members of the Whitebeard Pirates were there to pay their respect to Pops. And as Shanks was walking away, didn't he, like, he had like a little internal monologue to himself where it's just like, you know, there are some times where I really wished Captain Roger wasn't as careless as he was. And you have flashbacks to, like, Ed War and everything like that, like when he fought Shiki. And I think the whole premise of what Shanks was saying there was like, Roger had this moment there where he did seem like he had to be fearless, or he felt like he had to be this super brave character with no fear and just dive headlong into danger. And of course, he was the king of the pirates. He was very powerful, but he managed to get out every time. You know, he managed to escape every horrible situation, right? But I think Shanks was basically thinking, like, I kind of wish he wasn't like that. I kind of wish Captain Roger, it was okay to admit that it's like, oh, maybe we won't be able to win this one. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be afraid. And once again, I am paraphrasing here because I haven't went back and checked it. But you can go, I remember the moment. It's just because Shanks was remembering what happened with Luffy after Ace died. Luffy went into like that catatonic state where he was like crying and then he just like lost consciousness. And Shanks was basically saying, Luffy, that's okay. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to cry. It's okay to express those emotions, so long as you overcome them and you come out, you know, better on the other side. But it's okay to express that kind of stuff. It's not like you always have to be like, I am afraid of nothing. Giant dragon? Ha-ha! Giant sea king that's riding a dragon? Ha-ha! Giant moon monster that's the size of the moon? It's Unicron. I be fighting Unicron, matey! Charge! You know, it's like, it's okay to be afraid sometimes. In fact, I remember one thing about that flashback exactly. It was when Shanks was remembering, because remember Ed War, remember what that was. That was Shiki's entire fleet, and all the allied crews with Shiki up against one ship for Roger, and that was the Oro Jackson, and that was it. And so there was this big epic battle, and we still don't know a lot about it, but it was mentioned in the Strong World Zero chapter or whatever that was. And so Roger basically, because he's the swashbuckling pirate king that he was, takes out his sword, takes out Ace, and he's like, you know, men, charge! And then there's a moment, though, where Roger's smile kind of falters, where Shanks is remembering this, where even Roger realizes, holy shit, we might all get wiped out here. Now, there ended up being a storm that came in and that kind of saved the crew. But it was even, I think, showcasing there, Roger did not have, like, he just abandoned his fear or just discarded his fear. He still had it, but it was maybe his ego or something that was like, well, I'm Gold Roger. I'm the Pirate King, I guess. I gotta charge forward in any, you know, I can't retreat from danger, no matter how crazy the odds look, even though it looks like we might all get wiped out. I have to do this just because of maybe, like, his just personality. He was like that. Shanks remembered that, and he's like, kind of wish Captain Roger was a little bit different, okay? So I would not say that Usopp's main goal here, I would not say the goal of anybody should be to just take your fear and just remove that from your personality, remove that from who you are. I think that would actually be more of a detriment than something that would help you in the long run, you know what I mean? So every single time that the Straw Hats run across a really powerful enemy, right, like a giant sea king or a really powerful swordsman, or a Yonko, or whoever, and Usopp's reaction is always like, you know, pretty much the same reaction it always has been ever since the beginning of the story. Like, they'll run across a, you know, a Yonko or something, like Big Mom will be stomping through the hallways of Onigashima, and Usopp's reaction will probably be something like, ah, it's a Yonko, run! You know, it's just like, now, is that so much of, like, an absurd kind of reaction there, right? Like, and here's the thing, though. Maybe, like, saying, like, oh, it's a Yonko, run away and hide and never come back and fight. That's not what Usopp does, okay? That was me being hyperbolic. That's not what Usopp does. So let's do a little bit of a scenario here, of a simulation. Let's do a little bit of a hypothetical situation. Let's say Usopp is running through Onigashima by himself, okay? There's no one around him, okay? He got separated from, you know, the Straw Hats or whatever. He's running through Onigashima. He turns a corner. He sees Big Mom right there. Okay, and Big Mom is like walking through the hallway. Yeah, I don't think Usopp at that moment would be like, Big Mom, Emperor of the Sea, me by myself, God Usopp. I could take her. You know, it's like, I don't think he would do that. I think he would turn the corner, see Big Mom stomping through the hallway, like, Mama, 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 and then Usopp would be like, and then run away in the opposite direction. Okay. However, let's do a different scenario here, a different situation. Let's say he's running through the hallway, turns a corner, sees Big Mom, but this time he sees Big Mom fighting Nami, like by herself. Like, not like Nami and Usopp got separated, and then it's just Nami fighting Big Mom by herself, and Big Mom's like about to bring down the lightning bolt or some shit. In that moment, Usopp would not just be like, I mean, he would still probably be like, but I don't think he'd be like, run away and hide. Or even if he thought about doing that, he'd be turning to go and he would be like, that's Nami. I don't even think he would do that much, honestly. I think he would turn the corner, see Big Mom fighting Nami by herself, and then Usopp would be like, I gotta save her, you know? And then Usopp still, like, he's clever. He's very good at thinking on his feet and, like, being, like, very quick to, like, action and stuff like that. He would probably not try to do anything that could actually take out Big Mom permanently because he knows he's not strong enough to do that. He just isn't, okay? But he wouldn't just leave Nami high and dry. He wouldn't just be like, okay, good luck, Nami, have fun. Somebody else will probably save you. No, Usopp would probably think of something really fast. He would be like, okay, I have to save Nami. Yonko, Big Mom, there is no way I'm going to be able to take her down. So Usopp would start thinking of other options. Like, okay, I can create a smoke screen, like blast a smoke bomb right in Big Mom's face, like, mama. Or maybe I could, like, destroy the floor so it'll buckle and she'll fall down a hole or something. That is pretty much the main stratagem of taking care of Big Mom throughout all of Onigashima anyway. Just keep knocking her down a hole until finally she doesn't get back up. It's like, that's the ultimate way to defeat Big Mom. Throw her down a hole. All right? But Usopp might come up with that. He might be like, or even if he does leave, it would be leaving to do something to implement a plan. Like maybe Usopp turns the corner, he sees Big Mom and Nami, and he's like, oh shit, okay, if I go downstairs and I can, like, attack the ceiling, maybe Big Mom will fall down from the ceiling and then I'll save Nami. Maybe he might do something like that, but he would not just leave Nami, like, abandoned. And not just Nami, but any of the Straw Hats, any of his friends, you know, even if it wasn't a member of the Straw Hats, like if it was Otama by herself, you know, as like, yeah, Usopp would do everything in his power to make sure that she is safe and that they can get away from Big Mom, okay? He wouldn't try to, like, you know, and hey, you know what? I'll tell you what. Here's another scenario. Scenario 3, I guess. Let's say, let's just say through circumstances that there's no way to retreat. Okay, there's just no way to retreat. The only option that Usopp would have is to basically do the ultimate sacrifice where it's like, Nami, get away, I have to stay behind and fight her, okay? Or I have to stay behind and distract her one-on-one. There's no other way around this. You know, there's no way we could just, like, let's just say there's no way we could just, like, you know, smoke bomb her and then grab, you know, each other and then get the hell out of here. No, it's like, it's one of those situations where it's like, Nami, get out of here. I got this, you know, and Nami's just like, Usopp, you're gonna die, and he's like, you gotta go. He's like, we both can't stay for whatever reason, and we both can't get away for whatever reason, okay? If that was the scenario where Usopp was pressed up against a wall, okay, and it's just like, that's the only option on the table, there's nothing else, I think Usopp would do that. I think Usopp would do that. I think he would make the ultimate sacrifice in that position. I think a lot of the Straw Hats would. I don't think this is something particular to Usopp either, but that just goes to show. We're focusing on Usopp and his sense of his bravery and his stuff here today. If that's what had to happen, then I think he would. I think he would just be, Nami, get out of here. I'll take her on, even if he knows there's no way. Like, he doesn't have his Kabuto. He lost it, or it got destroyed, or he lost all of his Pop Greens, and it's just him. It's just him. It's just, okay, I guess I'm going into a boxing match with Big Mom. Let's go! Just like, if that's what he has to do to make sure Nami gets away, I think that's how it would go. Okay. So, maybe you have different perspectives on each of those scenarios on how Usopp would react or whatever. Would he have fear in any of those instances? Yes, absolutely, okay? But I think it's the fear that really helps him come up with these very clever ideas sometimes, okay? If he just was a straight-up brave warrior, using brave as the definition of no fear whatsoever, it might be a situation where Usopp does maybe just charge in to attack. And it's like, I'm just going to charge in and start, you know, pop greening, bombarding Big Mom and just, you know, hope for the best or whatever like that. I think here it's like, okay, I'm terrified of Big Mom. I'm terrified of the fact she's a Yonko. She is way stronger than I am. So therefore, but I still have to do something. So therefore, I have to be clever with this. I have to be thinking outside of the box in order to get out of this scenario alive and to make sure my crewmates are alive. You know, that's how it has to kind of go there. So, also, I don't think at this point in the story, considering we're so far along, you know, we're almost at the end of Wano here, and then we're moving into the final saga, I don't really think we're ever going to get to a moment where, like, okay, like, if you're expecting a scene in One Piece where, like, the Straw Hats encounter, like, a giant monster, And Luffy's reaction to that is, of course, like, ooh, I'm gonna fight it. And Zoro's like, I'm gonna cut it. And Sanji's like, I'm gonna grill it. And then a moment where Usopp, super serious, awesome scene where Usopp just takes his goggles, takes out his Kabuto, and is just like, hell yeah, guys, let's fight this giant monster. I'm a brave warrior of the sea now. Let's go. Lock in. You know, if you're waiting for that moment, for that scene, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think at least it's going to happen as, like, Usopp is maybe, like, 20 years in the future, 40 years in the future. But even then, I'm not really sure, right? I don't know. That maybe Oda might view it also as, like, that's just so much part of, like, his character at this point, that he is going to do that. He is going to have those reactions whenever he encounters a Yonko, whenever he encounters a strong enemy. He's going to have the face fault. He's going to freak out. He's going to be like, oh my God, look, a giant island made of lava where lightning is striking. And we can clearly see a giant dragon breathing fire on the island. Oh, and it's surrounded by whirlpools. Oh, and the whirlpools are also made of electricity. Usopp is still going to do the whole shtick of, hey guys, my stomach. Like, I think I've gotten that. I can't go to that island disease, guys. I don't know. I that's part of his character. It's more comedic relief at this point. Now, as an opposite end of that, I will argue that I did wish that Usopp had more stuff to do in Wano. Most notably, something that I'm really annoyed by that I did just look up and I remembered this. So Usopp, during the latter part of Dressrosa, which was honestly the last time we got to see Usopp do something battle-wise, right? Because after Dressrosa, we went to Zou. There wasn't really a lot of battles on Zou. And then after that, Totland, and Usopp was not in Totland. And then we get to Wano. And Wano was like the first time since Dressrosa where I'm thinking Usopp's going to have a moment here. And we also, at the end of Dressrosa, he awakened his observation haki when he fired the shot through the window, right? Against Sugar. So I'm like, okay, this is really cool. So Usopp has learned observation, and now he's in Wano for a couple of weeks, like while everybody was at Totland, Zoro and everybody was in Wano, and I would imagine Usopp is like finely tuning his observation, like learning more about it, learning how to activate it at will and whatever. And I thought we were going to have a moment like that during the Battle of Onigashima where we have an Usopp fight, and he like uses observation in a very clever way. He's just like, I've been training for the last month in Wano on my observation haki. I can do stuff like, he can do like a trick shot where he's like, pew, 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 pew. And then, like, page one is like, what are you doing? And then it, like, goes up through the ceiling, and page one is like, are you an idiot? What was that supposed to do? Boom! And then, like, it summons, like, a giant tree on the upper floor, and then the roots come down and, like, grab page one. I thought it was going to be something like that, where Usopp is pulling out, like, observation haki, like, trick shots with his pop greens, with his slingshot, or whatever, right? And the sad thing is we didn't get anything, we didn't get anything really relating to Usopp and his observation haki. I mean, Oda will still do something with it. I'm not saying Oda just completely abandoned that plot thread, like we're never going to find out more about it. Of course, when Usopp does have another serious fight, whether it be we go to Elbaf, whether it be, eventually it'll be Van Augur, but I think there'll be fights before that. The next major fight that Usopp has, he will utilize observation. It's just we did not focus on him that much, okay? I would also argue he was the Straw Hat that was focused on the least out of the entire group, okay? And I don't really blame Oda for, like, bad writing here. It's like there was a lot, and I mean a lot of moving parts in Onigashima, right? There was a lot of shit going on. Just beyond the Straw Hats, you had the samurai, you had the scabbards, you had everything like involving Orochi and Hiyori. You had to involve that in there, right? And of course, yeah, the fights with like Luffy, Kaido, Kid, Law, they're all the supernovas. They're all going to be front and center. You had the numbers stomping around. You had Yamato, who was a brand new character that was just introduced. So you got to focus on Yamato, of course, especially since she's going to join the Straw Hats and all that crap, right? You got to focus on that. So I was just thinking, out of all of the moving parts, yeah, there were some Straw Hats that didn't really have a lot of screen time. Brook was one of them, but Brook, as I said in the last video, was much more of a support character, so we did get a little bit more with him. Usopp had some moments. Probably his shining moment was the moment that wasn't battle-related. It was just him, speaking to Kinemon and Okiku about Bushido and about the samurai code of honor when they always want to die. And just like, we have to die in battle. And Usopp's like, that's bullcrap. Even if it means you have to, swipe snot from your nose and your tears from your eyes. You survive. You live on. And that was a great moment. That was a good moment, but it wasn't a battle-centered moment, which I think a lot of people were expecting. At least Brook had a moment where he took out one of the numbers, okay? Maybe you could have had a moment with, like, Usopp with that, too. Like, I don't know. You could have had a moment where, okay, number 2 of the numbers, I forget his name. It's like Futatsu or something like that. He was fighting against number 6. Maybe you could have had a moment where Usopp shows up and takes out number 6 of the numbers, or takes out any of the numbers, right? Just something comparable to, like, what Brook did, whereas, like, Brook wasn't spotlighted a lot, but at least he had that much, you know? And then there was the other moment where Usopp pretended to have the power of Conqueror's Haki, and then that was funny, but once again, not really battle related. Yes, he did fight against Page One. He got head-butted by old. Had a redo of Alabasta where his skull got fractured and everything like that. But that was honestly, that ended up being more of a Nami moment than anything, because of Nami, declaring to Ulti in the face of death, like Usopp will be the Pirate King. Just like, yeah, Ulti's holding up Nami and she's like, I'm going to kill you unless you, say what I want you to say. Say that Luffy's not going to be the Pirate King. And then Nami's like, okay, Luffy won't be the Pirate King. Ulti's like, gotcha. Usopp will be the Pirate King. Just like, it's like, that would have been funny. But no, that was more of a Nami moment than an Usopp moment, if anything. But yeah, and then Usopp, once again, he never even got to really finish off Page One. Not even in, like, the same way that Nami, like, yeah, Big Mom's Mazer Cannon pretty much really weakened Ulti, got her health down into the red, and then Nami was the one that delivered the coup de grace, the finishing blow. Also very similar to how she defeated Absalom back at Thriller Bark, where Sanji did the bulk of that work, and then Nami just, delivered the last attack, right? We didn't even get that with Usopp, where Page One was, purportedly supposed to be Usopp's opponent, and, he tried a few things against him with, like, the bamboo shoots and everything. It just didn't work out, and then it ended up with Big Mom just punching him out with Conqueror's Haki, and then that was it. That was the end of Page One. So Usopp never really had a satisfying finish to that fight, right? Well, what was this video about again? Whether or not Usopp is brave. I mean, like, personally, I think he is. I think he's accomplished a lot of stuff. I think just because he, like, freaks out and sees, like, oh my god, here's one of the strongest people on the entire planet, I'm gonna have a momentary moment where I freak out over that. I don't consider that to be like, oh, he can't be brave if he still does that shit. I'm just like, maybe you have a different opinion of it, but I was like, yeah, I think that's a pretty fair response to running into a giant monster or a Sea King or a dragon or one of the emperors, okay? But then after that, he settles down a bit and he realizes, like, I am here and I am going to fight and I'm going to aid in this battle. And he still, I mean, like, he took out members of, like, the waiters and the pleasures, like, lower tier members. It's not like Usopp was sitting around picking his nose the entire battle, and he was also there kind of making sure Otama was safe, and that's kind of important too, because Otama's ability was, like, the whole reason that they were able to have a turn in the battle, because of her ability to control all the gifters, right? So if Otama was taken out, that would have been a problem. Also, the fact she was an 8-year-old kid. So yeah, for the fact that Nami and Usopp were basically acting as her bodyguards for a big chunk of that battle, yeah, that's an important thing. Make sure the 8-year-old doesn't die, okay? So that's important. And then after that, it was basically making sure Okiku and Kinemon got safe, and got protected, and then Hamlet was there protecting him and helping him out, okay? So yeah, I mean, Usopp was definitely more of a support character here, but he was doing important things, But something else we have to do before we go is, of course, we have to find out about iguanas. So, hit that iguana intro track. Go.
Welcome to Iguana Facts with Tekking.
All right, so as I stated last time, there is a bunch of different genuses of iguana in the family of Iguanidae. However, there is one more that I wanted to discuss that was just in the regular species, a regular genus of iguana, okay? So there were two main species, the green iguana and the lesser Antillean iguana. We already discussed those, but I did allude to there being one subspecies, okay? And this is a subspecies of the green iguana called the Saban black iguana. Saban black iguana. Saban, like Hayam Saban, the dude that brought Power Rangers into America. Remember the Saban logo? You know, watching Power Rangers Saturday morning. I was more of a Lost Galaxy kid. I didn't start watching Power Rangers until I was older. Mighty Morphin came out the year I was born, so kind of missed the train there. But remember the Saban logo? I remember that. Okay. But yeah, anyway, subspecies of the green iguana, they have a dewlap, and they also have no horns, where some of the green iguanas will have horns there. The most interesting thing about the black iguanas, though, is that they exist currently on the islands of Saba and Montserrat. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing those. And there's a few other islands like dotted around the Caribbean where they're at. However, nobody really knows where they came from or how they got there, okay? Where there's like, okay, we found an island with this black iguana, and then another island with this black iguana, but then they're also related to the green iguana. So there's like 3 different ideas on where they came from. One idea is that they were originating from the Virgin Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, or I guess the British Virgin Islands, because they're right next to each other. But anyway, they're in there, and then they were transported to Puerto Rico. And then that's where, you know, they're at now. So that's one idea. Was it human transport? I mean, some of this stuff goes back to pre-Columbian days, okay? There's even theories that involve, like, before Columbus even arrived in the Americas, before the Europeans at large started arriving in the Americas, these black iguanas might have been transported through, I mean, maybe weather, like we already talked about, hurricanes coming through the area and whisking up, like, small animals and carrying them to other islands. So that might be the situation there. When the Europeans did start to show up, you have to imagine, like when the Europeans were like, you know, going from the island to the island, mostly to like, you know, ravage the landscape, kill the natives, and steal their gold, you have to imagine that there were probably some critters like iguanas and stuff that would like find their way on the European ships and like transport between them, you know, and that's so like maybe some iguanas hopped on board a European ship and then it sailed from one island in the Caribbean to another, or sailed from another reason is Venezuela. They might have originated in Venezuela and then went to like Trinidad and Tobago and then like to the other islands around there, you know, Aruba maybe, I don't know. And so maybe that's how they did that, and it transported there. So nobody really knows like where they came from exactly or where they were dispersed, but this is what they look like. All right, thanks for watching. That's Iguana Facts. Okay, Tekking101 signing out. Yeah, this was a solid video. Yeah, chapter review will be out tomorrow. That's that. Okay, later.